Welcome back to BBR. First proper cycle in a while, and they picked Davagh for it. I didn't drive here, I cycled out from Coal Island. By the time that I rolled into the car park, the rain had finally stopped. The place was empty, not a single other rider. No locals, no tourists, no one. Just me, the bike, and the sound of the water dripping off the trees. That's when you know that the conditions are going to be interesting. I was already soaked before I got rolling. The pack was wet, gloves damp, shoes squelching, but I'd come here to ride, and I wasn't about to turn back just because the car park was empty. Sometimes the best rides start when everyone else decides to stay home. The fire roads told the story straight away. Not completely flooded, but the low points and the long straights were holding water. You'd roll into a dip and suddenly you're splashing through axle-deep puddles. Water spraying up, soaking you even more. Then you'd climb out and it was bone dry again. The contrast set the tone for the whole ride. Unpredictable, changing every few hundred meters. The air was heavy, damp, and cool. Every breath felt like it carried the weight of the rain that had just fallen. The forest was quiet, no birdsong, no wind, just the crunch of tires and the occasional splash. It was eerie, but in a good way, like the trails were waiting for me. Then I hit the single track that you can see here, and that's where it got sketchy. Not grippy all over, loose over hard everywhere. The rain had washed away the fines, leaving behind 10mm stone chips sitting on top of hardtack. Not mud, not dust, just marbles on concrete. Every corner felt like it wanted to slide out. Braking zones were unpredictable. You'd feather the lever and the bike would skate sideways. It wasn't unrideable, but it demanded full attention. No zoning out, no autopilot. Every meter was a calculation. How much grip do I have? How much can I push? What's the safe line? It was exhausting, but in that good way where you know you're sharpening your skills just by surviving it. The bike itself held up better than I expected. Drivetrain shifted fine, even with the hanger bent from a previous knock. Brakes were solid. No fade, no squeal, just consistent bite even in the wet. Tyres surprised me. I thought they'd wash out completely on that surface, but it held more often than not. The inserts gave me the confidence to run lower pressures, which helped a lot with the traction. Sealant did its job, only lost a bit when it spiked, but nothing that stopped the ride. And the contact points, death grips and DMR V8 pedals, they never let me down. Even soaked through, I had the grip I needed to stay planted. It's moments like that where you appreciate the setup. Not perfect, not high end, but reliable. And reliability is what gets you through a day like this. In a little bit you'll see a section that stopped me. Massive boulders, slick with rain, covered in lichen. They looked rideable from a distance, but up close it was obvious. Way too slippy. Every surface was like ice. I stood there for a minute, weighing it up. 3 kilometers from the nearest fire road, soaked through, no one else around for miles. If I went down there and hit my head, or snapped a leg, that was it. No first aid kit, no backup, no one to call. So I turned back. And that decision, as much as it frustrated me, was definitely the right one. Sometimes, the hardest move is admitting that the trail has beaten you for the day. Also, this helmet setup here is exactly what I mean when I say no budget and no backup. A phone bar mount connected up to a laser compact helmet. That is what this whole video is being recorded on. It does work pretty well, to be honest. The mount's never slipped on me, and the helmet's solid, so it stays secure enough. Anyways, back to the trail. Not that it was all slow and cautious. There were sections where I could let it rip. Watch reckons I hit 51 kilometers an hour at one point. Maybe GPS was lying under the trees, maybe not. But it felt fast. The bike was alive, twitching under me. Tires scrabbling for grip. Brakes working overtime. For context, the fastest I've ever gone on a forest single track is 64 kilometers an hour, fully gravity fed on a local trail. That was pure speed, no pedaling, just gravity doing its thing. So whether it was 51 or not, I was moving, and in those moments, soaked, cold, sliding around, that's when you remember why you ride, because nothing else feels like that. And yes, I did hit the best trails of all here, the Golan Trail. But the camera stopped recording, so you'll have to take my word for it. That's the gut punch of the day. You ride the section, you feel the flow, you know it's good, and then you check the footage later, and it's gone. That's why I'll be back on Sunday to ride it again, hopefully in rare conditions, to capture it properly and to show you what it really looks like. It's frustrating, but it's also motivation, because now I've got unfinished business with this trail. All in all, a Phosos would have been ideal here, no question about it. The boulders, the loose over hard, the sketchy braking zones, all of it would have been easier with rear suspension. But the hardtail held its own. It always does. And that's the point. Sometimes it's not about perfect timing, or perfect conditions, or perfect gear. It's about just getting out. Wrong time? Maybe. Right ride? Definitely. Right bike? Always. What I take away from days like this isn't just the ride itself, but the reminder that the story is bigger than the footage. The empty car park, the soaked kit, the sketchy surfaces, even the camera cutting out. All that becomes part of the ride's mythology. It's not polished, it's not staged, it's just real. And that's why I'll keep coming back, because every time you roll into Davagh, it throws something different at you. Sometimes it's flow, sometimes it's frustration. Sometimes it's both in the same 5 minutes. But either way, you'll leave with a story worth telling. And here's the thing, rides like this don't just test the bike, they test you. Not in the dramatic, life or death way, but in the small decisions that stack up. Do you push into that sketchy corner or back off? Do you shoulder the bike over the boulders or risk it? Do you call it a day when the camera fails? Or do you keep riding anyway? Every choice becomes part of the story. And when you look back, it's not the perfect runs that you remember. It's the messy ones. The days when the weather turned, when the gear wasn't ideal, when the trail threw something at you that you didn't plan for. That's where the mythology of riding gets built. Because anyone can ride when it's sunny, when the ground's tacky, when everything lines up. But showing up on the wrong day, with the wrong conditions, and still making something of it, that's what sticks. That's what makes you want to come back. Not just to conquer the trail, but to add another chapter to the story. So yeah, Davagh wasn't perfect either, but it was real, and that's enough. Right place, wrong time, right bike, and still the right ride. And maybe that's the real lesson from today. You don't measure a ride by the stopwatch or the Strava stats. You measure it by what sticks in your head afterwards. The sound of tyres hissing through puddles, and the way that the forest felt empty but alive. The frustration of the camera cutting out, the satisfaction of rolling back into Coe Island knowing you earned every kilometre. That's the stuff you remember. That's the stuff that makes you want to tell the story again. And that's why I'll keep riding, no matter what the conditions throw at me. So we'll definitely be back here. Either next episode or the episode after that. We definitely have unfinished business here. Still more trails to check, and need to re-record Golan. Have a good one.